Welcome to Rising Above It. I'm your host, Nancy Seagal. Today's topic is the psychic soul. And we have a very special guest here today who will be giving a reading with our creative director, Melanie Mitchell. And I'd like to introduce our guest as Helen Piceno.
Yes.
And she is a soul coach as well as an intuitive healer and reader. So welcome, Helen.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so Helen, tell us about yourself. Who is Helen?
I am, like you said, I'm an intuitive reader and healer, but I had some difficulties that I had to overcome, and this is why I am now an intuitive reader and healer, because I want to help others that are suffering. And so I suffered, you know, in my childhood. I felt like I was like a burden growing up. I just had this feeling all the time as being a burden. Well, now that I'm older, I just understand that, you know, my parents were having marital problems, and when I came, I really felt that I was pushed aside. And I always make a joke. I say, you know, I grew up in a household with Catholics. Everybody's Catholic but me, because even that tradition ended with me. So as I got older, I just had no confidence in myself. I took off with the first guy that ever paid any attention to me, and I was 18, and I was drinking a lot and partying and doing drugs. I mean, it wasn't a healthy relationship I had with myself. So then when I met this person that paid attention to me that I was seeking, I moved all the way to Massachusetts. From California.
Okay.
Where I grew up, and I found myself living with a raging alcoholic. And I stuck it out, though. I didn't want to go home and hear my family say, I told you so. So I stuck it out, and I was in love and everything. So a year later, I had my son, and it turned out to be a pretty harsh life with a lot of alcoholism and physical abuse, and always moving because of the fighting and the embarrassment, and no finances. It was very dysfunctional.
Okay.
Then we moved back home, back to California, and I divorced. I had 2 children, my son and my daughter, and I continued to be in that cycle. I went from bad to worse. I was still seeking what I was missing, this attention and this love that I just didn't have. So I went into another bad relationship that got really severe beatings, and then I got out of that, and I said, I'm done with this. I went and joined Taekwondo, and I'm like, anybody ever touch me again, you know, I'll show him. And so, but I forgot. I didn't heal myself. I just came with this, you know, this tough girl, and here I was still seeking for love and attention, and I had, you know, my 2 beautiful kids, and I felt like I was overlooking them, because, you know, we are creatures of habit. I was just doing what I was taught. And I fell in another relationship, and he never physically hurt me, but he mentally abused me, and bad. And that made me feel like it was worse to get over that than the physical abuse.
As it often does for most people, because those scars don't often heal unless we go inside ourselves to heal them.
Exactly, that's right. And so I was in that relationship for 9 years, and I fell in a deep depression, and I finally just wanted to just get away from it all. And what do I do best is run away, and so I ran away again. I moved to Nevada, and, you know, uprooted me and the kids, and that's when I started getting into the whole mysticism again, and that really was my first love when I was a child. When I would go to the library, I would always pick out books on herbs or Sybil Leek, the witch, or Native American rituals and healing and shamans. And I just slowly started getting back into that and going to seminars. And then I became a soul coach. I went and studied with Denise Lynn.
Okay.
I lived with her for 2 weeks, and then I studied to be a soul coach. Great. And then after that, I just continued the mysticism and just kept evolving.
And how long have you been an intuitive healer?
I earned my soul coaching in 2007, but I still wasn't right with myself. I really used the tools to heal myself and work on myself. And then years, probably about 3 or 4 years, it just kept going, and I would kind of go in and out of it, with the healing. And then finally it was just something that was tugging at me. It was like a child tugging at your shirt, and I couldn't deny it any longer. And things happen for a reason. I got laid off from a job, and I promised I will do. I promised God. I said I will do this, and so I've been doing it ever since.
Great. And that's been since about
That's
07?
probably for a couple of years
Yeah,
now.
great. Okay, so you've been through childhood issues of, dysfunctional family, which is what is normal anyways.
It's common, sure.
And then through your own adversities, experienced alcoholism and abuse, and often like what many people are facing right now, nowadays. So,
So
how did you get to that point?
Yeah, in order for me to overcome this, I really had to look deep within myself to discover who I was, because I carried this label that we're all stamped with as we grow up in our environment that we grow up. So, I had to remove that invisible banner that I carried that was attracting these men into my life, that was only giving me what I was asking for, because I walked around feeling unworthy, unloved, used cheap goods. And so I had to go deep within myself in meditation and discover who Helen really was. And Helen wasn't the person that I was taught all those years. It's like you start to discover that you like yourself, and then you really open that well to loving yourself. And I always say everybody's spiritually connected within, and we don't need to seek outside for any of what we're needing in life, what we feel like we're missing. It really does start with you inside, and then it opens up to your creation, to everybody else. And it makes
And that's so true. When I work with, even going through all the adversities that I've been through, I have a somewhat similar story, where I was, no self-esteem, a lot of adversity faced throughout my childhood, and then, growing to discover myself and my inner self, and then growing to like myself, and it's okay, and then loving myself.
There you go.
And then setting my life in order, and it's amazing once you get to that point, because that tough exterior, like you said, you were taking martial arts, protecting yourself, nobody's going to mess with me.
Yes.
Well, I had that too. And it's like, well, it's good for the physical part, but however, still there's turmoil that goes on inside that needs to be healed. So
absolutely, I was the warrior, but still wounded inside.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about your psychic abilities. When did you first discover that you had the psychic ability, that you were actually, it was a strong gift to you?
I would have to say when I was really young, I used to think that the wind was talking to me, but it was my spirit guides. And I used to be able to do astro projection, where you could fly. I used to be able to fly above, in my bedroom and look down at my body. So a little glimpse of that I kind of forgot about, and then being, always focused and wanting to be drawn to playing, making potions and getting books on herbs and things like that. And then when I moved back east, I was in that dark space of the drinking and the alcoholism, and the beatings and stuff. And I seen things that were bad. But I also saw angels too when my son was born. So I knew I had that gift, but I just still turned it off.
Did you?
No, I did it, and I didn't like to share it, because I would get, oh, you're crazy. What are you on? And so I would just kind of keep it to myself. And then, those little things that you thinking about somebody, then they call.
Sure.
So it was always there, but I didn't practice it or in tune to it or make it stronger, like I do now with my meditation.
Okay.
And we're all psychically gifted. It's
Right.
a lot of it, we just shut it down.
Yeah, as often people say that the children are, they see much more than, and more intuitive because they haven't been shut down.
Right.
But we, as we grow up and become adults, we tend to shut down that part of ourselves, unfortunately. Fortunately, you opened it back up. And so how do some of these abilities come to you? You do readings, you do mediumship?
When I do my readings, I'll either have the reading done for my client before they even get there. I just need to tune into the first name. Or I'll go ahead and do a reading there in front of them. I like to read the chakras, and I see snapshot pictures that tells me a story, and then I get a feeling that complements the story that helps me put it together.
Okay.
And I have such a passion for this because my true gift really is helping people come back into the light. And because I've been through, you know, my own story and had to heal, I understand, and I approach helping people with such a passion.
Very good. So tell us a personal story of yours that, with the intuitive healings that have helped others to heal. You have.
Oh, I have so many.
Well, one.
That's okay. That's helped. I have okay. Let's say I have a client, and she never married, and I think I didn't ask her age, but I think she's in her 50s, and deep down inside, she had this feeling like being an old maid, and it was just. She had so much animosity and anger, and none of her relationships would work, and she would always feel like every time she would try to, you know, find a relationship, she felt like she was auditioning, and it never worked out for her. Well, she worked with me probably for about 3 months over the phone, and we would meet every other weekend, and she was one of my best students because she really listened to my instructions. She did the exercises. And now it's like our last session, it was like, I don't even know what to do with you, because she just had this awakening experience. She feels like I don't need a relationship. She was always seeking relationships. She said that she was at a family function and she went right over to a baby and held the baby. And she says, I've never wanted to do that ever in my life because I always was angry because I never had that life.
Interesting.
And so she said, I never had that life, and I didn't want to hear about anybody's marriage or their kids. She was so angry about it. And so now she has this calmness about her, and she knows that the next relationship that she does encounter, it's going to be the right one, because we removed her invisible banner as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you invisible banners. Yes, oftentimes we walk around, hey, pick me, and it's really not something that we want to be.
But I have so many stories. I mean, I can help, you know.
Your son, you said you have your son.
And I have to say, when I started the healing, like I started it with myself first, and then I moved to my family. And so my son suffered horrible anxiety and panic attacks. I mean, we were at the hospital with EKGs, and he thought he was having a heart attack. And
how old was he at the time?
He was probably 16, yeah, 16, and he thought he was having a heart attack, up all night. I mean, it was horrible. And I just tuned in. I finally just tuned in, and I said, you know, we're just going to do this. Let's just try this. And we just come to find out that he was super psychic. I have to say, like, almost more psychic than me. And so he was tuning into all these different things. But one of them that was troubling him was that he had been an orphan and a slave in so many past lives that he felt he was going to be abandoned again. So I just simply had to talk to him and tell him that I wasn't going anywhere. He started meditating. He started channeling his psychic abilities to a direction that felt right to him for his energy, and he's a self-taught musician.
Okay.
And he doesn't suffer that anymore.
Which I want to address, that he had, or he has ADHD.
Yes.
And how does he develop his intuitive abilities to help him as a musician? And
Well, when he
an artist that he is.
Well, when he was carrying all this, you know, the psychic ability and like a sponge absorbing all these different energies from people, it made him feel very confused. It made him feel ungrounded, like that paranoid. That, you know, that's why he was getting the anxiety all the time. And so all I did was just simply help him open his doors within. And his gift is music. That's how he discovered it. He started playing piano, and he makes awesome music. I'm really proud of him. So like I said, I did a lot of the healing within my family first before I opened up to my practice and took it outside.
What would you suggest for somebody that maybe be like just like your son, maybe in a situation or a position where they don't know how to get a handle on their intuition, and it's causing them anxiety or some other type of negative behavior?
I would have to say, if possible, see, you know, holistic, intuitive. Like, they wanted to put my son on Ritalin in junior high, and I was so against it. I had the school psychologist in the junior high really cornered me to put him on drugs, and thank God I never did, because I would have steriled him. I honestly feel I would have killed his creativity of what brings him passion, of what grounds him, of, you know, what he loves to do. And everybody has their own passions and their own gifts, and the Ritalin would have just killed it in him. So I always say meditation is the key, because it quiets everything down. Like my son said that when he started learning meditation, he was all over the place, and it's like it stopped the world for him, so where he could really focus on one thing instead of him being at 100 different things at once, to where he couldn't get anything completed. And so
yeah, I think meditation is at least, you know, just to quiet the mind is a great start.
yes,
So
I agree.
let's talk about the different energies of the levels of energy and how that plays a role in the work that you do.
The energies, from the way I see the energy, it's almost like a rainbow, but I don't see a color, but it just flows that way. It's like the energy of death, and then right before you die, and then birth, and then it's just this flow of different energy. I mean, I've encountered other people's soul coming to me right before they passed. So that's like the best way that I can describe it. It's like this flow of all these different levels. And that's the way I see it.
Okay. Do you see it, or do you sense it, or does it come to you in different ways?
Yeah, it comes to me in different ways. Okay. I sense it, but if Spirit is trying to explain to me how it works, then I see it. And that's how I saw it. I saw like this wave of energy flow, and it had different levels.
Okay. Now let's talk about the different types of readings that you do. And one of them is guided meditation. And if you can explain to the viewers what guided meditation is.
A guided meditation is, I usually use that after I do a reading for them, so we can see what work needs to be done. And I take them on a guided meditation to get them grounded, safe, open up a little bit, and then then they're able to open up and see the energy that I need to change, because, as you know, we can't remove energy, we can simply transform it. So the guided meditation opens up their channel, and it helps them actually see the energy that needs to be transformed in their life.
Okay.
Whether it's taking their power back, releasing a codependent relationship, traumas from, you know, childhood. They're all different. And so the guided meditation, I'll take them like either to their favorite place in nature, and we'll just go from there, and we'll just do some work. And the more they work with me, they'll like connect with their spirit guides. maybe loved ones that have crossed over. So I love using guided meditations because it's a tool for them to use their own psychic abilities to visualize the energy, how it needs to transform.
Okay, perfect. So in a few moments or minutes, we'll be having Helen do a reading with our director, Melanie Mitchell. And but before we do, we're going to talk about a little bit more about some of the other types of readings that you do. Another one is mediumship. And explain to the viewers what mediumship is and what that all encompasses.
I will be honest, I'm new with mediumship, but it does come through. Mediumship is when you connect to someone who has passed over and they provide information to you for any reason. Maybe the person that lost this person is suffering and they need to hear a message. My mediumship started with my grandpa. He passed away about 16, 17 years ago. And he started coming to me in my meditation, and I know he acts as one of my daughter's spirit guides. And it was interesting. My grandmother passed away this year, which was his wife. She passed away this year, and she lived a healthy life. I mean, she was old, but she would go to the Chumash, and she was just full of life. She was, as sharp as a tack, and just full of life, like I said. Well, she took ill, and everything was looking promising. She was going to be released from the hospital on Sunday, and I just went into meditation, and I asked my grandpa, and I said, what's really going on with Grandma? She's going to get better? Because that's what the doctors were saying. She was going home the next day, and he just said loud and clear, she's coming home with me. And I said, okay, I understand what that means. And then he shared this beautiful vision with me of my grandpa young, that I didn't even recognize him, but he was young, and he extended his hand out to my grandmother, and I could see her dying old in a hospital bed, and she accepted, and she left with him, and she transformed into her young, beautiful self. And then the story continues. And then
this is through a meditation.
This is through a visual. Okay. And then they take off together in this blue, like 1950s hot rod, and they get off. And then they get to their destination, and they stop like at a cabin that was overlooking the ocean. And above the cabin, red and blue neon, Friday. And I said, okay, I understand what that means too, but I didn't want to share with anybody, but I eventually did share with my family. And so that was a Sunday. I received the message. My grandmother got progressively worse. She never went home from the hospital. She went home with hospice care, and she passed away Friday morning.
Of course, on Friday.
As my grandpa had said.
Interesting.
But even though it was still hard to accept, he was there for her, and that our soul, infinite soul, does live forever.
Yeah, let's talk about explaining the death process, the cycle of that, crossing over, and how there's peace on the other side.
There is peace on the other side. Through my mediumship, I hear that they tell me that when we cross over, we review our life. It's so fast. Everything from beginning to end, and you also relive those emotions, and we call them experiences here on earth, and then on the other side they're called soul lessons. So what we go through here is a learning experience, and then when we get to the other side, we continue to learn from them when they're called soul experience. So they told me when you're having the whole flashback, when your life ends and you're revisiting those emotions, you're still learning from them from the other side. And my grandfather and my grandmother, she talks to me now too. It's very peaceful. There's no hurt, there's no anger, there isn't anything like that. It's so completely peaceful, and it's a love that I can't even describe.
That's often how I experienced it myself, and have heard it. There's no words to explain it. So, tell us about the energy of what we call ghosts and connecting with them and how you help them to cross over.
Okay. I was invited to go on a ghost hunt. They're called ghost hunt.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about it. And so I said, sure, this sounds like fun, you know. And so the night before, my guides informed me, almost schooled me about how ghost energy works. I had a dream about a ghost that he was like from the 1920s, and he played rugby or football, and he had these knee injuries, but yet he was a ghost, and he still suffered from the pain. And so I didn't get it because I'm like, oh, he's a ghost. But when I woke up, it was like, I get it. So when somebody passes and they don't accept it and they don't go to the light and they become the ghost, they hold on to those traumas and to those hurts. And how I was able to help, there was ghosts at the ghost hunt that I went to. It was a mother and 2 young children. The young child died of an illness, an infection, and so the mother couldn't accept, and then there was another child that was still there. So finally I felt like my soul was just guiding them to the light. And they were really hesitant, and I just kept getting them closer and closer. It's like being in that meditation, but I'm awake. It's like you see 2 slides of
Right. It's kind
pictures.
of like a parallel.
Yeah.
You're walking
And
the
so I
parallel
finally
life.
heard the young girl say, Mommy, I want to go home. And off they went. I know, as bizarre as it sounds.
I know, because I'm a medium myself, so I understand all this. I just want the viewers to understand it
Right,
too.
right.
I've had my own experiences with this, and it's like, it's another world.
It is, it is.
So before we move into the past life regression and the chakra readings and space clearing, let's bring up Melanie. And she's going to come on in. And you're going to do a reading for Melanie.
Okay.
And Melanie's mic'd up.
Hello.
And,
Hi, Melanie.
Just so the viewers know, Helen had previously did a reading just by knowing Melanie's name. They've never met before, other than once before you were visiting here at the station, but there was no dialogue given between you two. And so I volunteered Melanie.
So you ready?
And here you go.
So what I did, as Nancy says, this morning I just focused on your name, and this is what came to me. So whatever I read to you, if it doesn't resonate with you, just throw it away, okay? So here's the reading for Melanie. It says, Melanie, I see you struggling and have blocks in relationships and abundance. Relationships, and this is a question for you. Why do you think you are not deserving? And then I'll just continue. You continue to hold on to a lot of the past in regards to relationships, which create blocks in this area. And then a name came to me, but I don't want to say the name because it's on TV. So, in order for you to release this block, you need to forgive those whom have hurt you. This also stems down to the parent in your life, and the mother came to me. I see some difficulties in that relationship as well. You see all these intertwine with the flow of relationship and clearing your heart chakra to release and manifest your desired relationships. You also need to open up to acceptance within you. Forgiveness in others will help you open your heart. And then I'll go into the finance one. So finances and abundance. I see it never balances out, which is one of your many stresses. Came to me as a past life. Past life. There is a cord still connected to a past life where all was scarce. Food, shelter, you were almost afraid to change, accept new, in fear you would lose everything. Now is the time to be more open to taking risk. But they're not even risks, they're opportunities. You don't seem to care, and then this came to me, so maybe this will make sense to you. You don't seem to care if an opportunity that comes your way due to an underlying fear you carry. And then, I'm almost done, so. How to break and release the cord of this, and this is the second chakra, where abundance and prosperity flows is blocked. The more I give, the more I receive. That doesn't mean to give away all your possessions or money. It simply means to give more of the passions you have in life. Your creativity, means of expanding into your opportunities, following guidance. Let go of the core belief that you will never overcome this feeling of poverty. This core belief is what holds you back of progressing in the area of your life and career. Prosperity and abundance, give and receive. So there you have it. So do you have any questions?
You didn't say the name.
That's for
for later?
Yes.
I think that's very true about my relationships. I have I've worked really hard on forgiveness and allowance, and that because I know that that's one of the major blocks I have in any relationships that I have, including my relationship with my son. So tell me about my relationship with my son.
I think that does have a lot to do with the relationship with your son. Even more so than, it's hard for, I want to say, but that I don't. This is why I said to Nancy that I would even offer a couple of more sessions with you so we could talk privately.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so then, so we'll talk about abundance then, because that's pretty important right now, because I am stressing a lot about money. I'm at a low point. So I'm at a point where I can jump off and allow myself to have more opportunities to create income.
So just like, okay, but before we get started on that, what did you think of the reading? Was this accurate?
Yes, 80% was very accurate. About,
Okay.
About 80%. There's a couple of things but that may just be my resistance to thinking that I'm farther than some of the things that you said. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
very good.
What about the relationship? Do you have and how's the relationship with your parents?
Oh, that was pretty accurate. That was definitely very accurate.
So when you ask about your son, and this is how it always happens in my readings when I'm trying to help people overcome it, the relationship with you and your mom, it's that cord.
Stifling.
And then so whether you believe it or not or accept it, it trickles down to the relationship with you and your son.
Yes.
And so until you're able to overcome the relationship and bring that together between you and your mom, the doors will open up for you and your son, and then the relationships, that whole generational, will start to heal. But it takes a lot of work. It's more than just, here's your reading, now you go do it.
Right.
This is why I do what I do, because it's like, it's going to take some work. And so, but if you follow this, then you'll start to open up to your own guidance.
Right.
And it's not even just the simple exercises. I mean, it's totally recreating your life, through in, throughout, and even your home and your dwelling. And it's working with that. I like to call it the tapestry. We have woven this tapestry that's within our family, and the tapestry has many stories to tell. And if we don't use the gifts that we were given from God of our intuition, they're hard to battle. And those are our life lessons. That's your life lessons. And then on the other side, there's soul lessons.
Got it.
Any other questions?
So what we could do to keep it private, you can have this.
Okay.
And then I offered a couple more sessions with you.
Thank you.
So we can go more into
So
depth.
I have a relationship right now
Okay.
that I'm working on, and it's definitely at a standstill because of things that I'm having to go through in my life, and I think things that he's going through in his life.
Okay.
Do you think that'll move forward?
I just see a lot of stumbling blocks still. So if you want it to move forward, because there's another thing about being intuitive in readings, I don't like to tell people what to do. I'm going to open you up so you can follow guidance and know what to do. So if you want to continue your relationship with this person and there's, obstacles, then let's work on healing those so you two can come together in a more positive way, more as a teamwork instead of working,
Yeah, and if nothing
alone.
else, then I'll be 2 steps ahead. Which would be good for me.
Yes. But I'm dying to know the name. Like I said,
Can you just say if it's correct or not?
Where is it?
It might. This came to me for some reason. No? Okay. We'll leave that alone then.
The future.
It's the future. It's the way of the future.
I'm trying to think if any of them even have a middle name
That's okay.
could be, no.
I just write everything that comes to me
that's
because
perfect.
whether it makes sense, and sometimes it will make sense later, or you'll
remember somebody like, oh yeah.
yeah, or that's
Your
like
list
me. I
of-
wake up in the
Maybe
middle of the
first
night.
grade.
I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh yeah, boom, duh, it hit me.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. But we'll talk about that in another
Okay.
session.
That sounds great.
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 Any more questions?
Well, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm at a point where I can make a lot of changes. I can do anything I want right now.
Well, I think you should, because remember it said take more
Yeah,
risk,
yeah.
but they're not even risks, they're just more opportunities. Go for it.
Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah. I'm at that point.
Because what's the worst that's going to happen?
You just have to move on to the next one, right?
No, but I think that's important. I think Spirit comes through with the most important stuff for you to know, and that has been something that's been weighing heavy on your mind. And so about taking risks, but they're not even risks, they're just opportunities.
Yes. Yeah.
Take it.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
Do you have any more questions?
Do I have other questions? Millions. Well, I mean, there's a couple, but no, not
Okay,
right.
we can talk
do it
in
in
private.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
do it in
and
private.
we don't have to meet face to face. I work on the phone or through Skype,
Okay.
and it works just as good.
Sounds good
I
to
mean,
me.
I don't even know you, and this came through to me today for you.
Okay.
So
Very good. Very good. Yeah, the mom
Thanks.
thing is right on.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Helen.
you're welcome.
That's very good. So now we're going to go back to, well, do you have anything to say to the viewers as far as your readings are concerned, and how those work and how your coaching works? Let's talk about that a little bit. Your coaching.
The reading, like I did for Melanie right now, I really feel that my readings go to the core source of what she needs to overcome or what they need to overcome. And then the difficult thing is helping you overcome that. And so the coaching could be, we'll do the soul coaching program, which is in a 28-day program, or I'll just simply work with you, once every other week through readings, through meditations. Might have you do like a space clearing on your home so you can kind of disperse that energy so you could start to heal. It varies. It's like I always say, we are our own unique story. You have a book you have a story. I have a story. So that's why traditional therapy didn't work for me when I went to go seek for help, because I would leave that place feeling powerless. I had no tools. How do I overcome this? I would just jump right back in, worse, depending on somebody.
Yeah, and sometimes that type of therapy does make you codependent on it. Rather, it weakens you instead of, it kind of enables you to remain in that space and keep you there.
Make you feel like
unfortunately.
this is all you have. You have to accept it. Now you just have to accept living this way. My teachings and my healing is you don't have to accept to live this way. We're going to change it. We're going to change it to where you could live, be happy, and the way that you were meant to live. So the healing modalities are just different because I have to see that person, and then it's like my intuition and then their intuition will start to surface and work together, and then it will create what they need for their healing.
Great. And how can people contact you for a reading or for your coaching?
My website is www.helenpiceno.com.
We have that up on the screen. Great.
And then I
Can
have a
they
business
email you
line.
if they have questions?
And I have an email, which is my name, helenpiceno@gmail.com.
Okay, great.
And I also have a business line too. Should I announce that too?
Well, if you want calls in the middle of the night, maybe. I don't think you want. I don't think you want to.
It's in my office anyway.
Okay.
So, but it's on my website anyways. My
Okay.
business line.
So, go to Helen's website and you can get more information there. The email address, more about what you do, more details, and your phone number.
Yes, I list all the. I don't want to call them products, but I list everything that I offer, and
All
then
your
the contact
services.
information.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So let's go back to some of the types of readings that you do, and past life regression.
Okay.
This is something that I do as a hypnotherapist,
Okay.
and often a lot of intuitives use past life regression in their work as well. So explain to the viewers what past life regression is
Okay.
and how it works.
Past life regression is revisiting a past life that, it's funny, past life regression is the past life that you go into and you see the struggles that you needed to overcome in that life, and a lot of times you continue to carry them over in this life. And by seeing the two different roles that they play, like they can be really different, but yet they are the same. You're still struggling. What that helps you do is it just really helps you change that energy. Because we don't only store like these struggles or these wounds or anything. We hold them in our cells, in our blood, in our organs. We just don't simply have them, stored in our memory bank. They really occupy all your body,
Our energy.
our whole energy,
everything
because
is energy.
everything is energy, and this is
Exactly.
why I've been able to have success in healing and overcoming, traumas like claustrophobia, asthma, reoccurring nightmares.
Tell us about them. Tell us about some of the sessions that you've had to help others heal that way.
Well, like I said, my healing started within my family. And so my son started having horrible asthma attacks. I mean, it was bad. He couldn't stand up straight. He couldn't catch his breath. And I was like, where is this coming from? And I know as a child he had some breathing problems like bronchitis when he would get sick, but he never had like a full-on asthma. And then this day it was horrible. I took him to the doctors. They prescribed him steroids and inhalers. And I said, Terrence, since I have all these tools, let's try past life regression. Let's see if maybe you died from a horrible death. And, if it doesn't work, we can say we tried it. And he's like, okay. He was like, okay, he was for it. And he was about 16 or 17. And I just started taking him into his past life regression. And because he's so psychic, I mean, within seconds, he went into that past life. And he starts telling me that he was a lord and he worked for a king, and he wrote laws for the king, and he had to put them in order, and he didn't like what he did. He goes, I hated myself. I never smiled. I had no personality. I wasn't married. And he says, and I decided to end my life. And he says, and I ended my life by drinking hot lantern oil. And my son starts coughing, and he's telling me how dizzy he is. He says, my organs are burning. He says, it's taking me 2 days to die. Took me 2 days to die, and the bed is spinning. So what I do is, in the past life regression, is I simply change it. I simply change that you didn't die of that. Let's go to that picture and have you die of natural causes. And so even though you can't change the past, like we talked about, we can transform the energy. So we just change the story. And my son's 22 now, and he's never had asthma ever again.
Yeah.
And he performs on stage, singing, he works for the airline, so he traveled, went to China, and so he doesn't have any of that.
Yeah, and I can attest to how past life regression has helped me tremendously, and many.
Saved your life.
I've had so many experiences with the regression, and not only is it, I don't want people to think that there's always a horrible death that they can they would experience because they have some type of disease or illness or trauma going in their lives. And a few of the ones regarding asthma, I was having issues with it for a while, and I used past life regression, and I had time to visit 3 lifetimes, and each one was completely different. One was a banker that lost all of his money and just was died of a heart attack. Another one was a man that lost his 2-year-old child from a drowning accident, and the anger was killing him inside. And then the other one was the African boy in the bush that died of starvation at the age of 10. So they weren't like as traumatic as what your son's past life was, but they come in all different levels.
They do.
And sometimes they can be very boring, mundane lives, and then something comes out of it because.
And short, very short too,
Yeah.
right? But that's interesting that you say that you were having asthma problems, and then you revisited those past life, and it really did have to do with your chest area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your
The
heart.
breathing and the heart,
Your heart
and
chakra,
like no energy to breathe, no,
Yeah.
and I don't have any issues again.
That's amazing.
And
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, and it was pretty. I'm a firm believer. I use a lot of past life regression with my work, and it helps tremendously. And whether people want to believe that it's real or their imagination, or
That's fine.
it doesn't matter. It works.
Yes.
If it works, it works.
And I tell people when we first start, I said, if you feel funny and you feel like you're just using your imagination, go with it, because what you're doing, you're exercising that third eye, your inner eye, you're clairvoyant, and maybe it didn't happen to the exact, but you get the idea.
Yeah, you get the message is there.
You get the
And
message.
it's all about the message.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So great. Let's talk about the chakra readings.
Okay. The chakra, I'll explain very short about the chakra. The first chakra is your safety, security, your tribal power, your family, and that vibrates to the color red. And then you have your second chakra is your creativity, your ingenuity, your sexuality, and that vibrates to the color orange. And then you have your sovereignty, your personal power, your self-esteem, your trust, and that's your third chakra, and that vibrates to the color yellow. And then you have your heart chakra, where your forgiveness, your generosity, your now I'm forgetting, now I'm trying to blank. But that vibrates to the color green. And then you have your throat chakra, which is your power of intent, how you express yourself, and that vibrates to the color of indigo. And then you have your third eye, which is your clairvoyant, your clear sight, and that vibrates to the color purple. And then you have your crown and glory, which vibrates the color white, and then at the tips is purple, and that's your personal connection to God, to hope and faith, to the spiritual realm. Okay. So when I'm doing a chakra reading, I will in tune to each chakra, and then as I look into each chakra, it tells me a story. So and sometimes it could be so vague, and then I might say one or two things, and then boom, they understand what I'm saying. And so I'll just look at each chakra, and then each chakra will tell me a story with the snapshots, and then that feeling that complements the pictures. And then we just go from there, and then we'll work on maybe, like I pointed out, Melanie's chakra. Hers was the second chakra, were the prosperity and abundance. And so I pointed out that one.
Okay, and so is it a combination of all these types of readings and workings that you gather them to one whole reading?
I do, because if I'm working with a client, and like the one that I worked with for 3 months, and she's doing great now, it's it's all different. Each time we meet, I get like this cold and this chill feeling of it's being downloaded into me of what I need to do and say and work with this person. So one day it could be the soul reading, one day it could be the chakra reading, but then after I provide that, then we move on to the work.
Okay.
Or the past life. And I have to say, some of my clients, who are really, that I do see them suffering, and it's, they're doing good, and then they leave, and then and it's like I need to work with them for, a couple months. I see the tools we need to do this for them to overcome, and then I don't see them for a while, and they come back, and it's like they went right back. They went right back. Everything we just did.
I know. It's like a rubber band. It just gets pulled right back to where it's back. If you've not worked with it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
yes.
Like, it helps to just continue on with the flow.
Yes.
And oftentimes when people resist the most is when they really, really need it, and that's the areas that they really need it in.
Being intuitive, that's something that I've had to just leave alone. Like
you can't make them. You can't make them.
I mean, hello. I mean, even though I'm intuitive, I'm human too, and so my ego would get wounded and think it was me, and it was just. And I just finally accept that. You know what, Helen? They're not ready to go there.
Exactly.
They're not ready to enter that space. They want to continue learning, I guess. But a lot of people that I see that are really suffering, they tell me, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And it's like, oh, but that's where you need to go to heal. And so they would rather, be dependent on antidepressants or, drinking. And so, but I have to just, I just have to leave it alone. And sometimes they'll come back and be serious. That's what I talk about, being intuitive and working with clients. I can only do so much. They have to take responsibility.
Which I wanted to ask you about. The client's responsibility and surrendering to the healing and the truth of it all. What, besides what you just said, what else do you have to add to that?
That is like one of the key. That's like the key right there. I feel like I open the door to this, and then they have, and then it shuts back down, and then they have the key to open it and to really fully release it. But before they do, they have to take the responsibility along with everything that's entered into their life, and then turn it into lessons with silver lining, and then they're able to move forward. And with my readings, it's like we discover these traumas or anything that's causing these blocks. Let's turn them into lessons. Then you've learned from them. Then it makes it so much easier to overcome. And then you start to move on into your life purpose.
Great. So your soul coaching, how does it differ than other coaching? Besides business, business would be, more of a left brain.
It differs because on coaching, you are actually helping the person to, attain their goals. Like, what are your goals? I'm here to be your coach so you can, overcome and where you can get the goal that you're, the business, the school, whatever. The soul coaching is releasing all these obstacles to where you're unable to obtain the goal. So the soul coaching is more of a healing art. So you can attain these goals, or you can attain a happiness, move forward instead of walking backwards or living your life and backwards, or not being able to push and move forward. So with the soul coaching program, that's a 28-day program. That really is all about clearing your mental self, your emotional self, your spiritual self, and your physical body. So with soul coaching, we'll work with the element of air to clear your mental self, and then it moves on to water to clear your emotional self. And then it's with fire to open up and clear your spiritual self. and then we work with the element of earth so you can clear and heal your physical self. And then at the end, we do a vision quest.
Okay.
So that's the difference between the soul coaching and then just regular coaching. The soul coaching is really a modality to heal and to release, so you can start to manifest. So you can start manifesting this goal that you want in your life.
Good, good. And so if you could have, take a few minutes to tell our viewers something that you think would be helpful to overcome their adversities through the work that you do, what would you like to say to them?
You mean just having them either work on their own or, okay. I would say if you feel like you have small little difficulties to overcome, start the daily meditations. Your intuition, your inner teacher will surface and guide you and help you overcome those. If you feel that you're severely suffering, I would say please, if you can, go to an intuitive, work with them, take responsibility and the work that's required. But I would like to say, if you are serious about this and you do want to change your life and you want to experience healing,
Contact you.
Contact me, but there's, there are people out there that will take your money, and I try to say stay away from the psychics that says, I'm going to tell you all your future, and then they tell you that you're going to meet the man of your dreams and you're going to be rich and you're going to win the lottery and everything is just a bed of roses. And I'm not here just because I'm an intuitive. I'm not here to tell you your future. I'm here to help you create the future that you want, because you're the one that is really in charge of your destiny, not me. You are. So if you hire someone and they tell you what your life is going to be like, I would just enter with caution.
Okay. So do you come upon people that when you give your readings, you seem to be very forthright and honest and truthful, and some people don't want to hear the truth? How do you handle that?
Again, I have to just let it go and say, it's Helen, it's not you. I've had people say, no, that's not for me, or or they. Oh,
I have to cut you off.
Sorry.
Thank you for being our guest today.
okay.
Thank you. And also a special thanks to our guest, Helen, and also for our director, Melanie, as our volunteer. That was a brave soul. And then also I'd like to send a special thanks to my hairstylist, Sammy Thomas, for making my hair look really good today.
And it does look good.
Thanks. So remember, if life gets you down, you hold the power to keep rising above it. Thank you very much, and see you next time.